Welcome dear students. Today we will discuss on the topic that is future writing. This is a part of the semester 2 UG journalism students. In this unit, I will explain about the concepts, types of features, news features, interview based features, writing features, finding ideas, sources of information, parts of future and human interest angle, and also the last part is editing the future. We will discuss one by one about these topics. News can be divided into hard news and soft news. Hard news is generally up to the minute news. Soft news is background information and stories of human interest, also called features, which readers tend to identify with it. The future is a wide ranging from a form of a journalistic writing that covers a story in depth and detail, because general news already we have discussed about the hard news. There is a space problem, but futures means a special story. Futures as a full page, maybe half page, maybe quarter page. So there is a in prior there is some page, some space is allotted to particular future. The future story is strongly based in human interest. The future appeals to the emotions and entertains. The future can be informative and timely, but is not considered hard news, nor is it generally written using the inverted pyramid structure. The future story may address a recent event and give the reader more context through anecdotes, examples and general research. It is not possible with the general news. The best future story, no matter what the form or a type, it includes accurate storytelling that makes the reader understand and feel. Future writing is not a fiction. We will discuss about some concepts and types of features. A future story is creative, sometimes subjective. The article designed primarily to entertain and to inform readers of an event, a situation or an aspect of a life. Future stories and news stories actually have a great deal in common. The styles commonly used for future stories assume that the reader has more time to read, because general news nowadays we have various other medias like electronic media and social media. So already the reader who is aware about the news which is published in the page 1 of a newspapers, but future story is not that kind of it. It is a special interest. So the reader spends some more time to read that particular future. Every newspaper will they publish a future in their regular routine of their daily newspaper. The writer must able to summarize the point of a story, but writing may require that the reader go further in order to fully understand the point of the story. Of course, that means the writer must sustain interest for a longer period of time, because he have to be engage the reader's attention for to read the entire future story. Future writing offers a way for both readers and writers to get away from the relevant facts only approach of most news stories. Future stories also a way of humanizing the news of breathing life into a publication. Most feature center around the people and their activities and interest, because already we have discussed that is a human interested articles. They go behind most news stories by trying to discover the interesting or important side of an event that may not be covered by the news values. Here is we need to know about the elements of a future writing. Generally, first hand reporting can help you create an accurate and descriptive written scene. An observer can manage those details by developing a keen eye and grasping which observations are relevant to telling the story. The story focus should dictate which of the mass of observed details will be relevant. Here, precise is one kind of element. Observation and reporting is best when it is precise. Precise writing means choosing accurate and specific words. Precise nouns and verbs help make vivid future writing. If the reporter has to use an adjective, it should be a specific one. Another important element is details. The small specific facts that helps a larger point or impression while writing your feature. The reporter must choose details that add to the overall focus of the story. One more element is pace. A reader needs variety. Variety can be achieved through pacing. Pace is the pattern and rhythm created by word choice, sentence length and construction, and also the length of a paragraph. A good pace keeps the reader moving through the entire that future story. There is one more element, that is a dialogue. The use of quotes and conversations between the writer and interviewer, that is also helps while writing your future is in good manners. It is useful if the sentence says more than the writer can put into own words. The quotes can reveal the character of the speaker and the spirit in which the words are spoken. So, that is why we ask, means the reporter or the future writer who must quote, quotes must be exact, because we do not change it, we must be give what exactly the speaker or the interviewer says, we must be quote in our text. One more element is voice. Voice comes from the writer's combination of pace, word choice and use of examples, dialogue and details. Here you have a doubt why the voice is here in the print media. Means voice means not only the oral voice, voice means some kind of a writing style. Voice is in a future story that helps the writer capture the feel of the subject, place and time, because while reading a future story, the reader who imagines himself as he is staying some for example related to a future about the forest, so you feel it. That is why we need some voice element while writing future. Now, let us discuss about the characteristics of a future writing. The future story seems to exhibit a more relaxed style of writing than a news story. It may be easier to reader read than a news story, and because its content, it may be more entertaining compared with news story. Future writers work under a slightly different set of rules than news writers, but the goals of a future writer are essentially the same one that a news writer has, to tell a story accurately. Maybe it is a news, maybe it is a future, maybe it is a editorial, maybe it is a middle, whatever it is. A writer need to tell the story accurately. The main thing that sets future stories apart from news stories is the greater amount of detail and description future contain, because we have sufficient space is here adopted, uh, allotted in that particular page. Whereas compare with the news, there is a, if there is uh, a few space, the news will come in that particular space only. But futures has a advantage that it will be gives a half page story or a quarter page story, sometimes it may be a full page story. This difference is the backbone of a good future story. Whereas the news story writer who wish to transmit a basic set of facts to the reader as quickly as possible. Here is a major three kinds of descriptions that should be contained in a future story. Those are, first one is description of actions, number 2 description of people, number 3 description of places. The description that makes for the strongest writing is generally the description of actions, telling about events, telling what has happened, telling what people are doing. These things make compelling reading. Future stories often contain more questions and dialogue than news stories. News writers are use direct quotations to enhance and also illuminate the facts they are trying to present. Future writers go behind this by using quotations to say something about the people who are in their stories. Quoted material is generally used much more freely in future stories, while as in news stories, dumping a load of quotes on a reader without a break often puts too heavy a burden on the reader. That is why generally in the news stories only through 2 or 3 quotes are implemented in the news, general news. But here in the future story, there is a choice to give more quotation material in this feature writing. One more thing is dialogue and dialect. Dialogue and dialect are other devices a future writer may use if the story calls for them. One of the charms of future writing for many writers is that they can put more of themselves into a story, because it is a possibility to give their own experience. It is a possible to their opinion to include in the future writing compared with news writing. News writing is not a choice of the own writer. There is types of futures. Future stories come in a wide variety. Here are a few of the most common types. They are profile, otherwise we call it is a personality futures. Number 2 is a historical futures. Number 3 adventure futures. Number 4 medical futures and business futures. Let us we will discuss about the each kind of a future in a detailed. Coming to profile futures. Profile describe interesting people. These people may have overcome a disability, had an interesting hobby, pursue an unusual career, or become famous because of their colorful personalities. To be effective, profiles must do more than list an individual's achievements or important dates in the individual's life. They must reveal the person's character. To gather the necessary information, future writers often do some background research, watch their subjects at work, visit them at homes, and interview their friends, relatives, and business associates. Some profile subjects may surprise reporters by revealing their most personal and awkward secrets. It is possible with the while we are interviewing with the personality. The best profiles are so revealing that readers and viewers feel as tough they have actually talked to the people. Not every future remember of a personality profile is a celebrity. Maybe sometimes a normal person also becomes a celebrity in a within the hours, within the minutes, within the day. Often reporters profile people who are involved in newsworthy, the situations or confronting problems other readers might share. Another kind of a feature is a historical feature. Historical features commemorate the dates of important events such as the attack on a Pearl Harbor in the Japan or in the US, or the bombing of Hiroshima in the Japan. These are the some historical events. So, we make it futures based on the information which we have to collect it and prepare a future. News organizations also publicize the anniversaries of the births and deaths of a famous people. On the occasion of the birth, generally we see Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's birth anniversary, some death anniversaries. There is a special stories, features which are comes in the newspapers. Other historical features are tied to current events that generate interest in their topics. If a flood or earthquake strikes the city, news organizations are likely to present stories about earlier floods or earthquakes, because these are events. Basically, the historical orientation will be included in these features. Historical features may also describe famous landmarks, pioneers and philosophies. It improvements in educational, housing patterns, food, industries, growth, religions and also wealth. One more type of feature is adventure features. Adventure features describe unusual and exciting experiences, perhaps the story of someone who survived an aeroplane crash, climbed a mountain, etc. Very recently we know one aeroplane crash, there is a one survivor, there is a number of future stories published in all newspapers all over the world. In this type of future story, quotations and descriptions are especially important. After a calamity, for example, future writers often use the survivors' accounts to recreate the scene. Many writers began with the action to make their stories more interesting. One more kind of a future is medical futures. Illness and health are vitally interesting to the public, and that subject is very interested to the readers. The cost of shocking illness, new and radical treatments for common ailments, ethical issues surrounding medical advances, child rearing, mental illness, death and the grief process, new equipment and what it does, support groups, workshops for patients afflicted with chronic diseases and voluntary programs. All these are the subjects for who writes the medical futures. Coming to discuss about the business futures. Future writers find ideas by looking for the human interest in stories of promotions, new business, the local economy and even the election of club offices. These are also comes under the business futures. Business futures may have a side effect of promoting a particular business, service or product, but reporter should be sure that each story has enough news values to justify its inclusion in a newspaper, because we know we have advertisements, separate section for the advertisements. If there is no news value in that future, that may be sometimes it treats as an advertisement. So, be cautious while writing business futures. Let us discuss about the news futures. These are the focus of every journalism student. News features is a perishable story that helps readers identify with the topic, event or a situation in human terms. In addition to informing, news features entertain readers through creative writing, literary devices, vivid quotes and descriptions. The focus, which is reflected and supported in the lead, nut graph, body and conclusion. These plays a dominant role in telling the news story. Here we need to know about one word, that is a news peg. The news feature invariably have news peg. What is news peg? News peg refers to a development with a profound news value that may have already been reported in the form of a odd news story. So, they take the information, that is a news peg, that is a paragraph, to write a news feature. For instance, a suicide by farmer may have been published as a news event in a daily, but this news event can be used a news peg or a story idea for to write a news feature. A news feature is essentially an informative and also narrative piece. The news journalist focuses on the subject of an event. The writer of the news feature focuses on the excitement of that event. The most common types of features are news features, which are also called news follow-ups or news in depth or news behind news. These are other synonyms for the news feature. Features tend to contain more comment, analysis and background. These are the greater diversity of sources than news stories, and these kind of news features explore a large number of issues at a greater depth. From the views of the writer, we see that a news feature has one thing in a common, that is as its name implies, it is based on news and human interest may or may not be present, but the time element is important here, because the newspaper has a space, a particular space. So, be cautious while writing these future stories also. Here is a journalism student need to know two principal reasons while writing news feature. Number one is to provide readers with a greater mix of stories, writing style, and to explain more fully the workings of an interestingly complex society. You might call it is a news story with trimmings. The news feature concern itself with current events, but is given a different treatment. Another kind of type of feature is interview based features. Here an interview based feature is a form of exchange of information, opinion or experience from one person to another person. In a conversation, the control of the discussion passes back and forth from one person to another. An interviewer must simultaneously listen, observe, inquire, respond and record. All these activities have to be done by the interviewer. An interview feature about someone is exactly what it says. It is a feature based on an interview. Interviews are conducted for writing the news feature, a character sketch and investigative story, a profile, sometimes maybe it is a roundup. All these are possible with interviews. Before interviewing a person, you should prepare yourself thoroughly on the subject on which the interview is conducted. Start by identifying the key areas for the interview and boil these down to key points. Frame questions based on the points, but do not read them. don't go straight to the interview. Begin by profile conversation to establish a rapport with the interviewee. Writing futures, a future is a longer piece of writing than a news story. The future lead is not a summary of the story. The future lead is often an example and anecdote or a statement that sets the tone of the story. The vignette, descriptive or contrast lead can apply when writing a feature story. The feature lead varies in length. Sometimes it may be 5 lines, sometimes it may be 10 lines. Also is possible with the feature story, because in the news we could not include a 10-line story, 10-line lead in a first paragraph, because that is a short sentences. Here it is feature is maybe you have a choice to give more lengthy paragraph also. The future story can be told chronologically, because one after one we are including. Compare with the news, general news, there is a pyramid structure, but here it is you may follow the pyramid structure, otherwise you may go with the chronologically order also. Where we get the ideas to write future story? Future story ideas are everywhere. Almost everything one sees or does as a story behind it. Journalists just have to open their eyes and ears. If you see an instance recently happened, a plane crash, so you may write a news feature. Many number of features you can write based on the event, based on the accident, based on the survivor, based on the mistakes. All this is possible with the if you think, you will get the idea. After writing, there is a one important aspect, that is editing the future. So every newspaper has a copy editor. They do the future to read comfortably to the readers. A copy editor ideally should be able to read thorough any story at least 2 times. The first reading of a future story should be a fairly quick one. This reading allows the copy editor to get the feel of the story. After editing, it published in the newspaper. So dear students, so far we have discussed about the various types of features and editing. Thank you very much for watching this video lesson. Once again, thank you very much.